Step number 2 is, think about this. So whenever it will be to get your Google Map open key, I still don't know how to say it. Open key map? Your Google Map API key, right? That's it. So because think about this. So the Google Map Open API key allows you to translate whatever is that you're, because so the thing is like the OpenAI cannot just go here and actually analyze like, oh yeah, it's this one here, right? It needs some sort of information as far as geolocation, as far as latitude and longitude. So that's why whenever you give an address, so for instance that you typed an address to CustomGPT, you type like, as I said, like 23 North San Marcos, what the GPT is doing is going to translate that into longitude and latitude, so it can eventually come here and point in the right direction. But whatever is translating that is the Google Maps API. So that's what's going to translate it. So it's not going to come here and translate it. It's going to go first to the Google Maps API and it's going to translate it from there. So for that, you only need to come here. And I actually put, I don't know, maybe you can print screen this, but here are the instructions. I really cannot give you my API key for Google Maps because it's very private, and each of you is going to have your own personal API key. But this is kind of pretty much I guide. You know, you go to this website, you sign in, and this is just it. You create a new project, right? And then, you know, go API services, go to library, and do this, and then you will eventually get your custom API. So go in there, go to the notepad, and then save that too. So those are the two main ingredients you need at the beginning to really do a custom API thing where actually it's going to connect there. So as you see, so the first thing you need is REST API from that geolocation website or that website that your provider is using. The second one was a Google Map API, so it actually translates longitude and coordinates, so it can actually locate that specific point into, you know, translate your address into a coordinate. Step number 3 would be to create a Flash app ready, and this is where it could get a little bit complicated. If you thought the first part was complicated, well, you're in for a treat because this other part becomes a little bit more complicated. So for this one here, you can do a lot of things on this one. I think that again, a lot of these I asked the LLM because, as I mentioned before, I don't know anything about anything. I was just learning. But that's what I also want to help you understand and hopefully inspire you, that even though I didn't know anything about how to create any of these things through like this complicated stuff, I was still able to manage to do it, but because you pretty much you were getting the help of a professional, which is the LLM. So for this one here, what I did, I used this tool here. I don't want to give it to you because I don't want to show you my private. I know actually, yeah, it's not private. But anyhow, I created. I use a Visual Code Studio here. So this is the tool that I use. I'm sure that LLM could suggest you to use a no-code tool, and that's totally fine. I personally use this because I don't code at all either, but I had this program from a long time ago when I actually tried to learn how to code, and that worked miserably. But at least I had it installed in my computer, and I asked the LLM like, hey, I have these things installed in my computer, can I use it? And the LLM said, it's very simple. I'll give you all the data you need. You can use it. And I'll be like, okay. So everything you see here, it literally LLM gave me all the information, right? So I just copy paste it into here. So the first thing here, if you're willing to use the VS Code, you can just download this one. And I download the Python script. I downloaded Python too. I think it's the 3.2, I want to say it is. And the main thing I really want to show you here is if you're using this tool is like, if you're learning, because I was learning too, the first thing you need to do is create a folder. All right. So the first thing you need to do is go to any folder that you want. Create a folder first where you're going to store the Python file or the Flask application, as it's saying, like the Flask application, that's pretty much what it says. This is just Python as far as the programming, but it's like a Flask application. So to create a Flask application, you first of all, you're using Visual Code. First create a folder. I created this folder and then save it as a app-python. In that case, because I'm actually using Python for this. So the only thing I really ask LLM here is to create a query for me to connect pretty much to a custom GPT. So it says here, yeah, create that, name it like way, and then automatically it gave me the code. It told me, hey, copy that into the thing, from Flask, blah, blah, blah. So you create a Flask app, which is that file that I just showed you. And you pretty much, the only thing you really need to do is just tell the LLM what you need. Saying like, hey, I'm creating a custom GPT. When it tells you create that Flask, you said, okay, create it for me. Here's the API key, and here are the open REST I. Now create a query for me that could connect and create a custom GPT. So when you create that, like it will literally give you everything you need, like longitude, like all this. I did not do anything. Like the LLM created all the programming for me, right? All the code. So once it has that, now you pretty much are almost all the way there. Now there's a couple things you need to do. I'm skipping that step, but it's probably important. This could be a step 3A. The only reason I put it here is because this video is gonna get super long, and that's one of the reasons why I had so much hesitation of creating that. But I think it was ngrok. Test in your server. So if you want to test first to make sure that the code is working, you can go to ngrok and create an account. But the ngrok does create a tunnel that it is not live in the URL. It's kind of just live in your computer. So when it does that, you can test the program like temporarily on the URL, but you can just make sure it works. So you can do kind of exactly the same. It will give you a code. Then you'll do pretty much every single step here, except that this account is temporary, meaning like it's just gonna connect through the day or through whenever you have your computer on. So it's great to test it, but not necessarily a production thing. Like if you want someone else to use your custom GPT, you're not gonna have this because it's gonna be temporary. So this is just to test. So this is just if you wanna test it. It was fine. I learned a little bit out of it, but you don't have to. I mean, if you're gonna create a custom GPT that actually works, and if you're just gonna use it for yourself, this is fine. Just go to ngrok, create a temporary tunnel, and every time you use it, you just have to open it, and it will work. But if you want to create a custom GPT that not just you, but other people can use it in your organization, then you want to do a 24/7 URL, right? So that's why I didn't really include that step. But technically, it's doable to test it with just your server. But this method is if you actually want to create a 24/7 URL that anybody can use at any time. So once you create the Flask up, the next step is to create, again, I'm not sure exactly, but this is kind of to activate and work together. So in GitHub, before you get to GitHub, you have to have 3 files ready, right? I mean, just so you don't get overwhelmed, they're not that difficult because you already have the main one, which is the app-py or whatever code you created with your LLM. So you already have that. So let me show you how the other ones look here. This one, yeah. So you will have some 3 files, right, that it wants you to create. So you have the application, the Python, the code that you saw, and you have 2 other files. So I included the instructions here. You can print screen them if you want to. So again, don't really copy them, just use it as principles, because whenever you're creating your own, your LLM, I tell you, you're using a different programming, you're using a different tool, so therefore this is gonna be different. But if you're using kind of what I'm using, it's gonna give you a requirements thing. Again, you just put it in Notepad or put it in your Visual Code and create this as a .txt file. I couldn't use VS Code because I'm just learning and I didn't know how to use it. I mean, I'm just learning how to use it, so I was just a lot faster in Notepad. This one here you create in Notepad too, but you just have to make sure that you save it without the txt. So some tool that I use, because automatically as soon as I was saving it, it was saving it as a txt file. So the only thing you need to do is save it with these things. So you make sure to put this double thing here, and then you do the proc file and do this, and then you save with all files UTA, and it'll automatically create that file without the txt. So once you have those 3 files, then you create a GitHub account. And remember, right now all this process is for you to create that URL 24/7 server. So every time somebody puts an address there, it goes there and it calls from there to the API key. So in that way, it's just like a server that it's on all the time, and it's free. I mean, at least if you're gonna use it just occasionally as a hobby, not as an actual business. And now that you have the GitHub, I think it has to run on something, and then that's when it told me to create a render account, a render.com account, because it doesn't need any programming, and it does work with Python. So in this case, it did ask me to create that, so I created the render account. I don't know if I can show you guys. I don't know. Hopefully, there's nothing too private in there. I'm gonna so I created my account. You see how it's running, it's deploying, it's running, and yeah, that's pretty much, I mean, it will link directly to your GitHub. So once you create this account, you can link it to your GitHub, and I think you go to dashboard, you will just go to, I don't know, you go to new here, and you go to web service, and it will connect to your GitHub, and then it will give you the names of your repos on your GitHub, and you just click on it and it will automatically connect it. You see how I have done 2, City of Santa Barbara and SB County zoning, and that way you have a 24/7 URL, and from there you pretty much running, right? So let me get back, I think I confused you. So whenever you create your GitHub, man, there's a lot. I know, I get it, guys, it's a lot. Like, if my brain is fried. So here, when you have here, you go to home, and then once you have your GitHub account, this is kind of how it's gonna look. Then you go to create here, new repository, you give it a new name, right? And let's say that's the name. So you give it that new name, and then you just upload those 3 files there. Once you upload those 3 files there, that's it. That's all you need to do on the SB kind of everything. Then you'll connect it to the render bank here. So then it's deploying, then it's running online. So it's pretty much doing what your server, the Python thing, was running, but now it's doing it through, now it's doing it through online, through the render.com.